Well, hello. Believe it or not, this is the third time that I'm recording this, and I'm hoping it's gonna work. The first two times, apparently, there was something wrong with the Chrome memory, or it got lost in the cloud, or whatever, whatever the case may be. So I'm giving it another try and see how it works, so I can speed you up in your work a little bit. You guys are going to come to class, and I have already photocopied your instructions, your papers. I posted them for you to read, but I photocopied them. They're ready. No need to print anything. And I want you to be able to work. And the idea is that you cut your pieces on the bandsaw and you drill holes. And you get your parts ready, and most likely you can actually finish a whole cutting part in hopefully one session, which is the 4 hours, almost 4 hours you have. In order to accomplish that, you need to have wood prepared for you, or prepare the wood, which is part of what you're doing, is part of what you're learning how to use a thickness planer, you're learning how to use a jointer, learning how to prepare the wood, what it takes to do that, and there's so many small things in between. But I'm not necessarily skipping this. I'm just easing the way, and at some point through the quad, um, you will experience it either helping someone else, and we will have an official lesson on planing and jointing. But at the same time, I want you to know how I prepared this, which I've already prepared quite a lot, considering that I did two videos. And also, you can use this to write in your tech report or tech journal as part of your learning. So even though you might not have done it yourself, you have you know what's happening. You're gonna know what happened and what did I do to prepare the wood. And by rewriting them, retyping them, whatever you're doing, it's hopefully sits somewhere in your head. Now, in order to do that, I need to know how much wood do I need, and for that, you refer to your documents, which is what you have here. So this is what you have as a paper. This side shows you the 3D drawing of the parts. It also shows you how it's connected together. So the lines here are showing you how pieces are connected together. The bottom portion here, you have a table of information, and the table of information is telling you the materials, which are the parts. So you see the labels over there, the parts A, B, C, D, and you see the letters over here. So now you know C is wheels, and you see the two wheels. And you go on to do the same thing with the other parts of the project. Okay, now you might be even hearing me slightly better. Now it tells you body is A, that's the body. You can see that on the diagram. On the other page, you will see patterns, which are they are done in scale. So you really don't need to redraw them. You're just going to put this pattern on your piece of wood. This is not done to scale. This is just for your guide. Going back to the table of information down here, you will see measurements and quantity. So you're learning how to read this thing. Let's see if this is working. I don't know if you can see it very clearly. Try one more time. Okay. Here it says the quantity, the number of the parts, thickness, width, diameter, or length. Now, in information provided in different resources, not necessarily it will be indicated if the measurements are thickness, width, or length. Sometimes you have to figure out on your own. You will see that the measurements are written in imperial and in brackets and centimeters. Another reason for us to learn the imperial, but for now you can refer to the centimeters if you're not comfortable, but we will have a lesson on that as well. What else? There we go. So we're going to start with part A, the body. That's what I'm going to prepare for you, which will end up being the body of the seal, which you're going to be cutting around it. So that's what I want to prepare. Here in the diagram, it tells me the thickness is 1.5 inches. The 1.5 inches, if I open up the tape measure, it's going to be 1.5. That's how much it's going to be. That's the thickness, the real thickness, which is, as you can see, 1.5 is here. And if I move my finger down, that's a 3.8 centimeters. That's the thickness. Now I have a width of 3.5, which is going to be that much. the width that fits that shape, and then an 8 1/4 over here, that will be the length. And I'm just going to go with the imperial for it. So I know the most important thing right now is the thickness. I need to get a piece of wood that is 1.5 inch thickness. And if I don't have it, I have to prepare it. Now, here's a piece of wood which you're going to be using similar to this wood. It's this wood is pine. I have, as I said, plain before. I'm giving you pine for a couple of reasons. One, it's a soft wood, so the cutting is easier for you, and you're going to be using the band. So the sanding is easier. The wood is not necessarily the highest quality wood, but that doesn't make it a bad quality wood. Please have that in mind. If it's not the high quality, that doesn't mean it's a bad quality. It's just a different quality used for different things. It has its own merits. It's not as expensive as a high quality wood. Normally, the high quality wood would be quite hard, and they come from exotic places, or if they actually have farm trees to produce them in temperatures that work. But pine would be the easy one for you to use for now. It's as I said, it's soft wood, meaning it's light. It cuts easier. And when I buy it from the company, from the mill factory, I buy wood based on thickness. So in their catalog, they say if you want 1 inch thick wood, 1.5, 2 inch, and so on and so forth. And there's also limitations. Now, when they put these measurements in the catalog, they do not put 1 inch. They say 4/4, 4/4 inches. If they say 1.5, they say 6/4, 2 inches, 8/4, and so on. I don't know the reasoning behind it. It's just the way it is. So I've already ordered 1.5 inch wood, but I want you to know that when you buy 1.5 or whatever thickness you buy, it's slightly thicker. So they take into account that you buy the lumber, it's been roughly cut. And you might even see in the video that there are lines here, there's roughness to it. You might see it. I don't know if you can actually see this through your screen, but when you come back to class, if you're interested, remind me to show you a rough piece of wood which has not been planed and a plain piece of wood. So they take that into account that you need to be planing and flattening this. Some of them also have a curve. So you might look at the side and see this curve. It's not a straight edge or a straight end, and we need to flatten them. The curve happens even though they cut it straight through the drying process. It changes the shape of wood. Otherwise, they have cut it straight to begin with. They don't say, okay, let's go and cut curved woods. No, but it starts curving. So you need to do that. You can also order wood which are plain. So if you buy from Home Depot or that kind of places, mostly you'll find plain wood because people will just want to buy a few and just go and get their work done, and everyone has a planer at home, and so on and so forth. From the lumber factories, you can also order plain wood, but then you have to pay more for the obviously labor and the time it takes to do that. But for now, we're gonna plane, and in order to prepare that, I'm reminding you. We're making this surface and that surface flat and straight and getting to the exact thickness of 1.5. I'm also going to do these two sides. These two sides, I'm going to shave them so they're nice and clean. And in order to do that, I have to use a thickness planer, which I'm going to show you where it is. And all the time, by the way, I'm kind of nervous. I'm hoping that this is working, because in one day making 3 videos of the same thing, it's kind of annoying, especially when you don't get it to work. So I hope you can see that. That's our thickness planer, and this is our jointer. The two machines sit beside each other, and they work together. Not that they operate together, but you normally go from this to this. This is, let's make this clear, this is not by any means a lesson on the planer and the jointer. And the reason for that is that will require a completely different lesson, which we're going to do. Also, I've already have a unit for you on your bright space or a thickness planer or jointer, because there are other things involved in it that I can't cover the whole of it here. So the idea is right now that I'm going to put this piece of wood inside here, adjust it to the proper height, turn the machine on, and the wood is going to be grabbed in by the rollers that are on the top on the top of the surface, right on top here. And there's also a roller with 3 blades in it, and it's going to shave off the top of the wood and send it down. In order to do that, I need to turn the dust collector on. Otherwise, you'll have chips of wood blocking the dust collector, shooting out, possibly making dents over here. And well, it's just not good. You just have to turn the dust collector on before that happens, so it doesn't jam it. And I will do this several rounds, flip it over, do this by several rounds till I get a nice flat surface of 1.5 inch thickness. I also need to wear safety equipment or safety gears, which means that I have to wear my goggles, in your case, your shield, and your mask is already on. I'm wearing the mask that I started using last year. Regretfully, I should have used this from the beginning of my career, so I would protect my lungs, and I have asthma. And also, some of you know that last year I developed severe allergies to wood, which is quite unfortunate because I really, really love what I'm doing, and it's just like anyway. So it's very difficult, and now I'm putting this on to make sure that I protect myself, and therefore there will be no communication. You're just gonna watch what I'm doing till I finish. I'll stop. After that, I'm gonna joint the corners on the jointer. So you're just watching what I'm doing, and then once I'm done, I'll talk to you. But at this point, you won't hear me most likely because of the dust collector. Okay, both sides have been planed. It's a nice, clean. You probably can see the difference in the color of the wood. This is already, and I measured it's 1.5. So now I'm going to joint the two sides on the jointer. Once again, I'm going to put my shield on and my mask on, and you watch what I'm doing. On the jointer, I'm going to hold it against the fence this way, and my fingers up and pass it through. This is a guard, and I need to open it and let it go back, making sure it actually works, because the rolling blades are there, and I don't want to slip through it and chew up my finger. get my fingers too well. Put it that way. Remember, with the thickness planer and the jointer, you can only cut with the grain. You never go across the grain. You don't say, oh, it's a cross cut. There's no cross cut on these two machines. It's always with the grain. It's not a rip cut. I'm just saying you always go with the grain. Otherwise, something bad is going to happen. It's going to break, chip, turn, fly. You're going to slip, something like that. I don't need to do the other side really, and you'll know you'll figure out why later. And I just don't want to waste your time right now. But I could do the other side if I need it. If I needed to use this whole width, then I would do the other side. I don't need to use the whole width because if you remember, the measurement was 3.5. If I measure 3.5, it will be here. So I can simply cut this out straight, beautiful cut. I'll leave this part for someone else's use whenever they want to use it. So that's what I can leave out. I can do this cut all the way straight on any machine like the bandsaw or table saw, basically between these two. But I will do the table saw. Now, do you have to use a table saw for it? Absolutely not. You can use the bandsaw if you want to. It takes longer to do. Do I need to do the table saw? Sometimes you need to. If you're cutting pieces that have to be 100 cut, has to be precise, sleek, accurate, you will go on the table saw. If you guys don't need that. You're going to be cutting around it, and with the cutting around, you are using the bandsaw. So that means that you really don't need to have an accurate cut. But for the sake of time and the better quality of the cut, that's what I do. I use a table saw. So here you're going to see how I'm going to be using the table saw. Move this as close as possible for you so you can see. Now, as I said, I've prepared some before this morning and then in 2 sets. So this is just a backup in case something goes wrong. And I always do backup pieces, of course, because the chances are you might screw up and you want to start over. And I hope that you're not getting upset when I say you screw up. It's part of the learning. You need to make mistakes. That's the whole idea. So, by the way, don't go and make mistakes. It's just part of the learning, so don't be upset about it. If you do everything 100% perfectly, what happened to my internet? Then maybe we should do a different project. That means that you are actually learning a little bit more. Otherwise, it's the same thing. You're repeating the same thing. So I'm trying to get this in a position that you can see the table. See if I can accomplish that. Give me a moment, please, okay? Okay. see how the cut is done, I have the guard off. We have the guard off for several reasons. Sometimes we have them off because we're making groove cuts, we're doing angle cuts, and so on and so forth. Okay. That is done. Now I need 8 1/4. So this is an important part. 8 1/4. Let's say there's 12 of you, and I'm not going to cut the whole thing. I'm just going to do 2 cuts so you'll see. There are 12 of you. 5 of you have been here before, so 7 of you need pieces. 7 pieces, a few extra. If I mark 8 1/4, and then measure and mark 8 1/4, and measure mark 8 1/4, I'm measuring 7 times. I also need to take into account the thickness of the blade, and I guess the former students should know that. The thickness of the blade is what? You remember? 1/8 inch or 3 millimeters. That means I have to mark 8 1/4, put 1/8, 8 1/4, put 1/8, and it's just time consuming. It's time consuming. I might make mistakes in my measurements when I'm using the ruler, and also if I make a mistake and I cut it wrong, I've wasted wood. I have to start over, which is another waste. So in order to avoid that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be using things that help us in our cuts. And one of those things that help is using the jig. Anything that helps you do something is a jig. This is a multi-block. It's a sort of a jig. And it's called multi-block cut. So it's or multiple cut block, whatever. Meaning that you use it when you want to cut multiple things of something. And you measure plus 3. That's 3 inches. So my measurement was 8 1/4 plus 3 8 1/4. That's 3 11 1/4. Off the fence. Now I'm doing a cross cut. I'm cutting across the grain, so it's a cross cut. I'm going to use my iron gauge, pull my multi-block here. The distance between this and the blade is 8 1/4. And then I'm going to just keep cutting without measuring it. Now the multi-block stays down here because the idea of using a multi-block is that you're not relying on the fence for measuring. Piece that is wrapped between the two and shoot back at you or twist, catch the blade. It's just an unsafe, dangerous thing to do. You just don't do it. There are some things you just don't do because they're damn stupid and wrong, and it just hurts people. Now, I'm probably going to get in trouble because I use that word stupid. But stupidity is a word used in the dictionary, and I don't think it's to be offensive to anyone. It's just something which doesn't seem smart. Okay? And it's a wrong. Now, there we go. So I'm going to do some cuts so you can see. I'm just going to do 2 or 3 because I don't want to waste this whole wood. I've already prepared more enough for you when you come tomorrow. There we go. If you consider that measuring and marking takes quite enough time, and setting up does take time, but then it's more productive. You spend the time, and then you're actually more productive. Now, did I screw up my measurement? Let me just check. Okay. So I screwed up my measurement. I keep telling you measure at, so I marked it at 11 1/4. Thank God I did not cut more. Sorry, I marked myself at 10 1/4. I should have marked myself 11 1/4. So there we go. That's my mistake. It's a karma. I should have not said stupidity. There we go. I didn't do anything unsafe though. That's the good part. Now I can't turn dust collector back on again because I need 6 minutes at least in between for the shaker to sort and sort both. Okay. Rest assured, I don't waste wood, so for sure we're going to use that wood in something. I'm such a protector of these things, and I don't have the consumer mentality. So there we go. Now, though these pieces are ready, your pattern is going to go on here. So when you come to class, what you're going to be doing, first of all, at home, I want you to look through that document and read it. When you come to class, you're going to cover this with masking tape, the thick masking tape, not the thin masking tape. You're going to cover it with masking tape. You're going to cut around your pattern, the pattern of the seal, not exactly on the line. Please do not spend time cutting exactly on the line. That's a waste of time. You don't need it. You're going to glue it on with a glue stick, and then you're going to be ready. I'm going to tell you what kind of cuts you're going to be doing. Remember, all of this process I did should have been done by you guys, but hey, in a non-COVID world, that's the way it's going to be. Now, do you have to use masking tape? No. What we call that is applying the pattern on the wood. Now, you can apply the pattern by the way I told you. You can apply a pattern by just drawing the pattern on the wood. You can apply the pattern by not using masking tape. But the downside about that is you get the glue stick stuck to your wood, and it's kind of hard to take it off. So we're trying to do things a little bit easier. That's why we do. Now, if you have your pattern on the wood, there are two things you're doing. You're drilling holes for the eyes and for the axle, where the axle is, and you're cutting around it. There are two things, right? The first thing you do is drill holes. On any project that you're doing, please remember that, repeat it. For every project you're doing, if you have holes to make, it's smarter to drill the holes first because your piece is bigger. You haven't cut around it. It's easier to clamp it. And if you make mistakes, you can just alter, move around, change the pattern a little bit up and down and make it work. If you cut around this beautifully and then you make a mistake in your holes, then you might need to start again. So again, it's not a law, it's not a wrong or right thing, it's just an advice, it's an approach, it's the way to do things, which I tell you, I'm going to tell you it's better. So I'm going to guide you that way. I'm going to say, from my perspective, that's what you're going to do. It makes sense to me. If you don't do it and I don't see it and whatever, it's not wrong. You don't get marks off if that's what you're concerned. So people are always concerned about that. That's what you're concerned, no, you don't get marks off if you don't drill first. Now, for your diagrams, I want you to know that your seal not only has a cut around it, the tail part of it has a cut, which makes it into a 3D cut. So your project will have a 3D cut experience in it, which I find very good for you. So I'm going to show it to you, and you can look at it so you realize what I'm talking about. There. Let's see if I can get that. I don't know if I can get that focused enough. Anyway, so this drawing is the top view of this tail, and it shows that these two parts are cut. So you will need to do that on the bandsaw. I have to show you how it's done in small bandsaw. And it's considered when you cut a piece of wood one direction and you also cut it from the other direction in a different sequence, it's called a 3D cut. So your shape will not be just a flat of something. There we go. I think that's good. Let's see if this video actually worked this time, because if it didn't, I'm not going to at least do it today anymore. I'm done with using these technologies.